The Munich Security Conference is a somber affair. World leaders gather burdened by the weight of global anxieties. In 2025, amidst heightened tensions with Russia, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky issued a stark warning. He cautioned that Russia might set its sights beyond Ukraine, aiming for NATO members themselves. Zelensky's words were not empty rhetoric. They were a desperate plea, a call to action for a world teetering on the brink. He pointed to Belarus, Russia's staunch ally, as a potential staging ground for attacks. The parallels to the 2022 invasion of Ukraine were chillingly clear. Zelensky specifically highlighted Poland and the Baltic states as potential targets. These nations, once part of the Soviet sphere, represent both a symbolic and strategic prize for the Kremlin. Their vulnerability, bordering both Russia and Belarus, amplifies Zelensky's warning, turning a spotlight on the fragility of peace in Eastern Europe. The world listened, some with apprehension, others with skepticism. Could Russia, already bogged down in Ukraine, realistically open a new front against NATO? The answer, as with most things concerning the Kremlin, remained shrouded in a calculated ambiguity. But one thing is certain. Zelensky's warning serves as a stark reminder of the volatile times we live in. Zelensky's warnings were not isolated pronouncements. They were echoed in hushed tones by intelligence agencies across Europe. Latvia, a small Baltic nation on the front lines of the new Cold War, sounded the alarm. Their intelligence reports painted a disturbing picture. Russia was actively developing the capability to confront NATO directly. The German Bundestag, known for its measured approach, added its voice to the chorus of concern. Their assessment, shared by the Danish defense services, predicted a bleak future. They foresaw Russia potentially launching localized wars against its neighbors, Finland, Estonia, Latvia and Lithuania, within 2 years. Even more alarmingly, they predicted a larger, more devastating conflict engulfing the entire region within 5 years. This escalation, they warned, could involve naval clashes and potentially spill over into a wider European war. These reports, coming from the heart of Europe, shattered any remaining illusions about lasting peace. The intelligence community, often criticized for being caught off guard, seemed determined to learn from the past. They were no longer content with simply reacting to Russian aggression. They sought to anticipate it, to warn the world of the gathering storm. The potential for a wider conflict, while concerning, is not inevitable. Several factors could embolden Russia, pushing it closer to the brink. A favorable peace deal in Ukraine, one that falls short of Kiev's hopes and ambitions, could be misinterpreted as weakness. Imagine a scenario where Russia, despite its setbacks, manages to secure concessions from a war-weary West. The restoration of Russian control over occupied territories, coupled with the West pressuring Ukraine to relinquish its NATO aspirations, would be a Pyrrhic victory for peace. Such an outcome, while seemingly easing tensions in the short term, would embolden the Kremlin. It would validate Putin's belief in the West's weakness, in its willingness to sacrifice Ukrainian sovereignty for the illusion of stability. This perceived victory, fueled by propaganda and a distorted sense of historical grievance, could have dangerous consequences. Furthermore, Russia's escalating hybrid warfare campaign across Europe adds fuel to the fire. Cyber attacks, disinformation campaigns, and even attacks on undersea cables have become alarmingly frequent. These actions, falling below the threshold of conventional warfare, sow chaos and erode trust in democratic institutions. Despite the Kremlin's outward displays of aggression and its relentless propaganda machine, the path to further expansion is not without its obstacles. Russia's slow and costly progress in Ukraine serves as a stark reminder of the limitations of military force. Despite achieving some territorial gains, the cost in both manpower and resources has been staggering. The capture of territory twice the size of Mariupol in 2024, while significant, took over a month of grinding warfare. This slow pace of advance, coupled with fierce Ukrainian resistance, raises serious doubts about the Russian military's ability to sustain large-scale offensives. Moreover, Russia's economy, battered by sanctions and crippled by corruption, is in no shape to finance another war. Inflation, a silent but deadly enemy, continues to erode the purchasing power of ordinary Russians, fueling discontent and social unrest. The ruble, once a symbol of Russian strength, has become a barometer of its economic woes. These economic realities, coupled with Russia's demographic crisis, paint a bleak picture for a nation harboring imperial ambitions. Low birth rates and an aging population have led to labor shortages, forcing the Kremlin to make difficult choices. Military spending, once a sacred cow, is being scrutinized, with greater reliance placed on the private sector to shoulder the burden of Russia's military-industrial complex.